three forms of lines. I'm sure you know the top one. Y equals mx plus b. What's m stand for? What's b stand for?
Y-intercept.
Y-intercept. It's what you love. It's all you've done. I'm going to try to convince you that there's a better way. And that is the second equation, which is called the point-slope form. Okay, so notice when you're dealing with slope-intercept form, you plug in the value for the slope, which you calculate or you're given. You plug in the y-intercept. And sometimes you're not going to be given the y-intercept, so you have to go and figure out what it is. And then when you do figure out what it is, you plug it in, and you have this nice, pretty equation. For a slope-intercept form, you need two things. What are they? Let me back up here. For slope-intercept form, you need two things. What are they? Y-intercept and the slope. That's why it's called the slope-intercept form. Very good. I'm going to try to convince you that point-slope form is a better way to go. What do you need for point-slope form? A point and a slope. There you go. And then occasionally we'll run into this silly standard form, but it does absolutely no good for us. Nobody likes it, but it still shows up every once in a while. Okay. Now, all we're going to do for the rest of the period, that is some examples. Make sure you got this under control before I cut you loose. So, example number 1. Write the equation slope-intercept form of the line with a slope of 6 and a y-intercept of 3. You're given the two things you need for slope-intercept form, so just put it into the proper form. Ethan, what's the answer?
I don't know. Oh, 6x minus 3, y equals 6x minus 3.
Done. Are we good? Okay. Again, we're taking baby steps here before we start to get into more intense things. Now using point-slope form, you have a slope, you have a point. Now notice that point is y1, or sorry, x1 comma y1. You're not going to plug into y and x, you're going to plug into y, x1 and y1. Tommy, what do you got?
Is it 4 minus 4?
Nope.
4 minus 8
You got
equals what?
Huh? What?
you
Huh?
don't have a y.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y minus 8.
You said 4.
I said 4.
You said 4. That's why I was a little confused. Y minus 8.
Equals x minus 10.
No, you missed something. Which is?
So equals 4
There you go. Times.
times
Parentheses, very important.
x minus 10 plus 10.
Plus 10. Minus negative 10 plus 10. Good.
First try.
Everybody good so far? Thank you for the thumbs up, Patrick. Things ramp up fairly quickly. Now we have 2 points. There must be the equation line going through those 2 points. We need to find that equation. This one will take a little bit more work. What are we missing? Slope. You can calculate the slope by finding the slope for each of these lines. So write the equation line through each pair of points. We have 2 separate problems here. We're going to extend this problem then. Not only are we going to come up with the equation line, but I'd also like to know what's the relationship between those lines. Are they parallel, perpendicular, or none of the above? Okay, so let's start with the first line. What's the slope between those 2 points? Andy? Do it. Do the second one. Got it? What's the slope?
Like 3/2.
She right? Yeah, 3/2? Okay, we're gonna leave it as one, not as 1.5, but as 3/2. Now you have to make a decision. This point is special because it happens to be the y-intercept.
Wouldn't it be negative?
9 minus 0/4 minus -2. Be positive. Okay. So the nice thing about point slope form is, like I said, all you need is a point and a slope. I have a slope, I have a point. Well, which one are you going to choose? You can choose either one. So for instance, y minus 9 is equal to 3/2 times the quantity x minus 4 is one possible answer for the first equation line. However, I can use the other point. Y minus 0 is equal to 3/2 times the quantity x minus -2. These are the exact same line, they're just written differently. And then there's a third answer. Realizing that that's the y-intercept, you could have done y equals 3/2 x minus 2. All of these represent the exact same line. Just different ways to phrase it. Different ways to write it. I would suggest and encourage you to use the bottom two. Okay, so you have this written down, right? I can get rid of this. Let's do the second one then. What's the slope of that line? Brianna? Ooh. 5. Tell me why. How'd you set it up?
I did 3 plus 7 over
3 minus -7 over.
-1 plus 3 minus negative.
Good. That's 10 over 2, which is 5. Okay, good. Question? Stretch. I got it. All right, which point do you want to use? -3, -7, or -1, 3?
-1.
-1, 3. Using point slope again, y minus 3 is equal to 5 times the quantity x minus -1. Done. Okay. Leave it in that form. You don't have to convert anything, you just leave it there. However, if you use the other point, y minus -7, whoa, I don't know what just happened. That was pretty cool. Huh. Okay. I don't have my information here, so let's see. And, oh, wait, it's coming back. It's a good thing I'm recording this. Okay, there we go. Y minus -7 is equal to 5 times the quantity x minus -3. And again, that's the same line. Either answer is acceptable. You don't need both, you just need one of them. Please tell me you used point slope last year? Yes?
Yeah.
All right, good. So this is all review, right? Good. All right, let's ramp it up a little bit then. Any questions on this slide? We're good? What do you want?
So what is it perpendicular?
Oh, I don't know. This slope was 5. This slope was 3/2. What's the relationship between those two lines? Equal?
No.
No, not equal.
No.
Parallel? Perpendicular? No, so none. Which means what? What would these two lines do if I graph them? Yeah, they just intersect somewhere. This is what's going to cause people the most problems. We've talked already about horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Vertical lines have no slope, undefined. Does not exist, ENE. However, you can still have equations of horizontal and vertical lines. All horizontal lines have the equation y equals some number. Because it's all the points with a y value of, let's say, 3. All vertical lines have the equation of x equals some number, in this case, -4, because it's all the points with an x value of -4. You will get those confused. Okay, the y equals, you can plug in the slope-intercept form. The slope disappears and you're left with y equals some number. Can't do that with the vertical lines because there is no slope. You don't even have a number to plug in. What's a horizontal line passing through -7, 8? It's the horizontal line, it's been a whole slide. Is it x equals or y equals?
Y.
Y equals what? In this case? No, not 0. Y equals 8. It's the y value of the point. What's the vertical line through that point, -7, 8? X equals? -7. Good. What's the vertical line passing through the point -4, 3? X equals -4. Good. What's the equation of the x-axis? Is the x-axis horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. So is it y equals or x equals? Y equals. Y equals what? 0. Okay. Now the fun begins. We want a line perpendicular to that given line through the point 0, 8. What's the slope of the given line? 3/5. Therefore, what's the slope of any line perpendicular to that line? Good. So the slope of the perpendicular is -5/3. And I have a point. So again, I'm going to stress, I have a slope, I have a point, therefore I'm going to use point slope form. Which would be what, Jack? I'll get you started.
Y minus A
Mm-hmm.
equals
Well done so far.
5/3 parentheses F minus 0.
Perfect. And hopefully you're all bright enough to realize that we don't need the -0 in there. So we could just write it as -5/3 x, but we'll leave it in there, it won't hurt anybody. Any problems? Good. Try that one. Now it's parallel. What do you know about lines that are parallel? Same slope. Emily, what's the slope that we want here?
-3.
Good, and it's passing through the point -4, 3. I'm assuming point slope form is okay with you? Good, so what would my equation be?
Y minus 3 equals -3 x plus 4.
I'm assuming you meant parentheses there? Good, well done. Now, some of you are not going to like that. Some of you just love slope-intercept form so much that you're going to do it something like this. You're going to say y equals negative 3x plus b. This look familiar to some of you? Then what do? You plug in the points. You plug in 3 equals negative 3 times 4 plus b and solve for b. That's negative 12 added to both sides. B is equal to 15. Then you rewrite it as y equals negative 3x plus 15. This is not wrong by any stretch of the imagination. However, I would argue that what Emily did is a lot easier. Plug in the values, stop. Okay. Sometimes it'll tell you what form to use, but for the most part, I'm just going to let you use whatever form you want as long as you can get the correct answer. Which means that while I'm grading, I'm going to have to generate like 3 or 4 different answers for every problem because each one of these has a variety of different answers. Okay? What don't we know in problem 9? The slope. Can you find the slope of that line? 2x minus 3y equals 12. How?
Solve for y.
Solve for y. Talk me through it.
You subtract 2x. Divide by negative 3.
What's the slope of this line?
2/3.
What's the slope of the perpendicular line?
Negative 3 over 2.
Good. Okay, so give me a final answer then.
Y minus 1 plus 6 equals negative 3 over 2, parentheses x plus 1.
Well done. Good. So occasionally this general form will show up, if nothing else, just to have you practice the algebra in trying to solve that to figure out what the slope is. Oops. We're all done? Okay. Now I'm assuming that this is pretty straightforward and easy for many of you. Is that a true statement? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so you've done this already, right? Now, what I also want to stress is how much this is going to ramp up.